Yes, he is.
Oh, there he is, right there. Very good. I don't want to. I certainly, you're too young man as a near juvenile for me to put a silver alert out for, but we were worried about you. How are you, sir?
Well, I had Emma Claire J.A. carpool drop off, and I was here, so I thought I was scheduled for a little bit later, but my apologies.
That's no problem. No problem at all, sir. We have limited time now, but I do want to get to this because there's a lot to talk about here. The tourism in the state. We had a heck of a session. We've got some additional money. You take it from here. This is national. When is National Tourism Week? This week or next week?
It is this week.
It wasn't this week, was it?
It is this week.
It is this week.
It goes
okay.
Sunday through Sunday, and National Tourism Week was started during the President Reagan administration, where he set by legislation that this week every year would be celebrated by the whole United States to highlight the power of travel, and for each state to celebrate in their own way to recognize the power and the importance of tourism in each state. So we celebrate differently each year, but as much media as we can bring in, we encourage all of our DMOs and CVBs to highlight the importance of tourism in their area and for the state. So that's all this week.
Craig, there's a lot of things to be excited about what's happened in the session and some of the ARPA money and things like that, and just recognition of how important tourism is in the state. And I think we've achieved a lot of that during the session. You want to speak to that and some of the things to highlight?
Yes. During the legislative session, the House Bill 453, as I recall, was written, and actually the bill was ceremonially signed yesterday, which included the Steve Azar's Mississippi song was in that same bill. But the legislation that was written was for $42 million. $30 million of those funds would go to the CVBs and DMOs over a 3 to 4 year period that they could use for advertising, marketing, still recovering dollars from COVID. And then there was another $12 million that would be distributed evenly with Main Street and nonprofit museums. So over a 3 to 4 year period. So similar to the first tranche of money 2 years ago, which was about $15 million, and they only had 3 or 4 months to invest those funds into marketing, advertising. Now they have 3 to 4 years stretched out to really be able to use these funds and set some long-range plans for their marketing, advertising, and participating in co-ops. So that was great. We're really excited for the industry. Most states will have received their funds. Some will not. It's up to each state how they distribute their funds. But Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Speaker were all very thankful for their efforts in supporting tourism and reinvesting even more funds into this industry.
Yeah, kudos to you and your group and everybody else for pushing this. But you start thinking that we're making more and more of a little impact on a national basis now. When you start thinking, well, Bill Clinton was down, and we were talking about the Mississippi museums. You hear more national chatter, certainly about things like the Grammy. We kind of sneak in every once in a while to a national story, and goodness knows the Cruising the Coast is now on the national platform. So we do have things like that. B.B. King Museum, and from where we were 20 or 30 years ago, it's just remarkable.
Well, it's so good to hear Governor Barber's voice on your show yesterday, and to think about back when Haley was just in his first term as governor, and we were looking at that time. I was appointed director of tourism, and we were laying out some dreams for the future, whether it be the Blues Commission, Blues Trail, but the museums at the time. B.B. King was still alive. We didn't have the B.B. King Museum. We didn't have the relationship with Recording Academy. The museum in Meridian was still a dream, and to have all of these, and the Civil Rights Museum as well, to have all these museums and in place now that didn't even exist 15, 16 years ago.
And we're not through yet. I mean, when you start looking at
Marty Stewart's museum.
Marty Stewart's, I want to touch base on that one when we come back with C. Ray, Craig Ray, director. The director of Visit Mississippi, Craig Ray. Craig, and I know I say this a lot, but I just think we need to focus more on the positives. And you look at the positives, there are two there. New state flag, new state song. We are doing everything we can to move forward in the future and not wallow in the past. And I just think people need to, they'd be better motivated by thinking about that than the past sometimes. But I think we are, slowly but surely.
I agree. And surely the numbers show that before COVID, we had 3 record years in a row for travel and tourism in Mississippi. Number of travelers, expenditures, 24.7 million visitors, $6.8 billion in expenditures. We were surely trending in the right direction, and there's no reason that we will not go back there. We've seen in the recovery, everybody in the world had a bad 2020, so you can almost delete those numbers. But since then, we lost about 3.5 million visitors that year, and we've almost fully rebounded on number of travelers. We'll find out at the end of this fiscal year, we're looking at a $7 billion year for expenditures, which would be an increase of about 4%. So we are trending back in the right direction. And the big number here, Paul, is, again, a number that no one in the United States has shared either, is the international travelers are just now able to start traveling and coming back to the United States. We had 185,000 travelers in the last year before COVID, record number for us, and that represented almost $200 million in expenditures from that group. So we're anxious for our international travelers to come back to Mississippi and to the South, and that's a great area of growth for us, very positive. And now, as we're reopening, so many great new places to go that were fairly new before COVID, so we're still rebuilding there, like the aquarium on the coast, like the Arts Entertainment Center Meridian, the Civil Rights Museum, the new Marty Stewart exhibit, which is opening today. Or actually tomorrow. I think the reception is this evening. So just a lot of exciting areas, and as you mentioned, just so much good to talk about, and so much to share for Mississippi.
Craig, let me ask you this: how important is a good, vibrant state park system to tourism?
Well, it's very important. We're looking forward to, really excited about the investments that are planned for upgrading and rebuilding some of our state parks. It's an option that we need to, as a state, to have as people are choosing to travel to Mississippi. Our neighbors have put millions and billions of dollars into their state park system, Tennessee, Alabama, just those two alone, Arkansas. So for us to compete, that needs to be a component for our travelers, whether it be fishing and camping and playing golf at the state golf courses. So it is very important to have that as a product, and we're excited that the legislators are going to be investing in the park system for rebuilding and redesign. So I feel like it's very important.
You know, it was prior to the pandemic, and I'm not sure some of the numbers after during the pandemic, but families were getting back together again as far as RVs concerned. RV sales were just skyrocketing, and during the pandemic, I think they increased in some parts because it was a way for the family to sit together, be cohesive, and then travel to some places. But I've never asked this, but I'm wondering, those state parks are really an important part of the RV family and out there, because a lot of them don't stay in lodges, a lot of them don't camp. They camp out in their RVs. And do we have enough RV places in the state?
I don't have that exact number, but outside the state parks, there are several new developments on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, more like luxury-driven areas where you can stay and park your RV and have restaurant facilities and restroom facilities and all the amenities that you would need to stay at the RV park. So that is a trend around the country to support this demand for the new RV owners, because this is not just going to end at the end of COVID. This is a way that people and young people are feeling to travel and want to travel. And during COVID, we saw not just the RV and travel, but just about anything outdoor, whether it be golf, hiking, biking, fishing, going to our trails programs. I mean, just anything outdoor at that time, and still those numbers have increased. So I think you'll continue to see more and more people traveling with RVs. You know, that's a safe travel option.
Yep. And with the gas prices as they are, there folks are talking about maybe for a weekend getaway, or if they got a few days off, to take a in-state vacation somewhere. But, and I know on your website there are a lot of information about what festivities are going on, celebrations in different communities out there, and I think that's easily accessible.
Yes, if you go to our website, visitmississippi.org, you can see all the updated events that are taking place all over the state, recommended itineraries, links to the state parks, link to places to fish, all of our golf courses, the resorts, the casinos. We really are building the website to be a great informational site to go to. We still have our 13 welcome centers where travelers can stop by, engage with our team and staff. We, even last year, in a down year, we had 1.3 million visitors that stopped by our 13 welcome centers and engaged with our team to seek information on where to go and what to do. There might have been 5 million people that came to the welcome centers and stopped, but as far as engagement with our team, so it's still...
That's critical. It really is.
It is.
And by the way, we're putting some, my understanding is we're going to be putting some money into those too, because some of them are kind of run down.
Yes, we have Visit Mississippi. Again, we manage the welcome centers, not the rest stops throughout the middle state.
Oh, I was thinking of rest stops. So is that different? That's different.
The rest stops are managed solely by MDOT. The welcome centers, hospitality, are managed by Visit Mississippi and MDA. So yes, we did receive, the state received an EDA grant that some of those funds we are going to designate to redesign and rebuilding and restructuring all of our welcome centers. So you'll start seeing that this summer, rolling out some of those funds. Yeah. Some of these welcome centers have probably not been touched or redesigned in 30 years or so. So we're looking for new furniture, new kiosks, new experience for the travelers, but we're really excited about that amenity that we're able to do, and thank you for the governor's office assistance on this EDA grant, and so we'll be using it for the welcome centers and to continue to upgrade and manage and maintain our trails system.
Do want to mention this, and we also had the other thing out there was the Wildlife Fund, the Stewardship Fund, which in one way or the other may lead to more bike trails or hunting and fishing, and all that plays into tourism for our state. Only got a couple of seconds left here, but anything coming up you want to mention?
Well, I'd like to. I think we've already talked about the Marty Stewart exhibit that's opening up this weekend at the Two Museums facility, and that's just a peek behind the curtain of his big project in Philadelphia. So they'll see about 600 items here at this exhibit, but big picture, about 20,000 items in Philadelphia when that opens. And for those that are listening today, if you haven't been to the aquarium on the Mississippi Gulf Coast they've been open and just working through hurricanes and COVID, but what a special place. It's Mississippi's aquarium on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Oh, it is something else. Yeah.
It is really.
Hey, I'm a bird guy. I love the aviary. And I'm going to tell you something. I've been to some aviaries in a lot of the zoos across the country, but I saw some species there that I've never seen before. And I was talking to Jeff and some of the guys there. I said, I've never seen these. And some absolutely beautiful birds. But they do a great job. And I think we had yesterday, we had the mayor of Gulfport on, and Billy told me that they're working on a penguin exhibit.
Yes, that's been the plan long term. They had the penguins there at the grand opening just as an exhibit, but they will have a long-term penguin exhibit with the dolphins too.
Your plate is full, I see.
It is. I'll just stay here and run the office if you like. I
don't think they could keep you in the office too long. See, Ray, it's always good seeing you, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Craig Ray, Director of Visit Mississippi, doing a great job, and lots of things, and I think we'll both agree, lots of things